Could all of you just briefly give your opinion on why there is a lack of mainstream media here?
Well, it's particularly biased within Philadelphia, and I mean, ultimately, the media serves the powerful people, and in Philadelphia, powerful people want Mumia lynched, you know, and they recognize well that media bias against Mumia will help to serve that campaign.
Also, I would just say pattern and practice. There is a pattern and practice of mainstream media ignoring significant stories and aspects of significant stories, and that's not just with the Mumia abu-jamal case. When we talk, as everybody has here today, about the overlay of race in this case, we have to remember that next year it will be the 40th anniversary of the release of the Kerner Commission report, which looked at race, racism, and riots in the late 60s. It was released in March of 1968. In the Kerner Commission report, Chapter 15 dealt with the news media, and they were the commissioners who issued that report were very critical of the failures of the news media to report on the life of Negroes. I mean, we've got a different name since then. For some people, I mean, some people the name has still been the same. But I'm just saying there is a very documented history of this perverted coverage. And I work for the Philadelphia Tribune, which is the oldest African-American newspaper in the country. In 1827, the first black-owned newspaper in the country came out. And in their lead editorial, they said, we are here to tell our own story because for too long, others have not told it for us. So those same things that happened that gave rise to Freedom's Journal in 1827 are still manifest today, most pronounced in the Mumia abu-jamal case.
Yeah, I think a lot of problems in Philadelphia, very parochial, closed-minded mentality. And I think that many elements in the media do not want to raise the issues that we're discussing here today, because if they do, then they have to talk about all of the other cases that are out there. That just opens up a Pandora's box. I mean, there are so many systemic issues in the criminal justice system, problems in this city and throughout the country that really have to be dealt with. And if we deal with the case of one person, Mumia, who we say was framed, and there are a lot of questions about his case, you have to deal with all the other people. You have to deal with the thousands upon thousands of people who are in prison, and the fundamental injustices that are in that system. So people don't want to deal with that. It's easy to look at things in black and white. Unrepentant cop killer, and on the other hand, a mourning widow who wants justice. They make it very simplistic, but obviously the world is more complicated than that. That's why we're here.
My introduction to this case was I moved here from Hong Kong in 1997. I'd been there working for Business Week for 5 years, and I moved here, and there was the International Commission hearing on Mumia's case. And so I went to cover it for, I think it was in these Times newspaper. And I got there, there were like 600 people there. There were television reporters from all over Europe, Canada, reporters, it was stuffed with reporters. And the next day, there was no report in the Daily News or the Philadelphia Inquirer. So I called up as part of my story for In These Times, I called up the city editor at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I just introduced myself. And I said I was curious why you didn't have a reporter at the thing. And he said, well, it's just a political stunt with a bunch of people talking about something that we've covered endlessly, right? And I looked at the paper that day, and it was filled with political stunts. What is a press conference by a mayor? What is a political press conference by a business talking about their earnings report? Well, any of those things is a political stunt. And here's a political stunt, quotes, with 600 people in attendance. I mean, these other political stunts are maybe 3 people in attendance who are workers in the office of the person holding the stunt, and they send their reporters to it. But in this case, it's just seen as a political stunt, and they don't cover it. And then, you know, since then, you could see that go on and on. Like when Amnesty International issued their report on this case and determined it was a 40-page, 50-page report done by a prominent lawyer, and declared that this case was an atrocity. The Philadelphia Inquirer ran a piece this long. This was the Amnesty International, a respected organization that even William Buckley is on their board, and other newspapers outside of Philadelphia, the New York Times, other newspapers ran much more significant pieces on it than the Philadelphia local publications did. Some publications didn't even mention it. And this is a huge case. Obviously, everybody knows it's an international case, but they run this much on it. So I think it's not just a matter of that this is a black story. We don't do black stories, which I think is true of the Inquirer, unless it's a black story about something a black guy does to a white guy or a white cop. But this is the problem of the injustices in Mumia's case. Yes, it's a black story, but it's also a story that I think the media here is actually in Philadelphia is actually afraid of.
Yes.
Because you take the Inquirer. They have, in the 10 years I've been here, they have tried more and more to be the paper of the Yahoo suburbanite with right-wing politics that they think is the one that will appeal to advertisers. And they're not going to do, that's why they'll run excerpts, more than one day. They'll syndicate Faulkner's book. They're not writing a critical review of it, they're syndicating the thing. My book, which was reviewed outside of Philadelphia, got critical reviews everywhere. It finally got reviewed in Philadelphia in the company of another book, by the attorney that Mumia fired. It was a companion review. Got a little bit of a review. So they don't want to deal with this case, and this is just another example.